which athlete today, is there any athlete that shows the same type of competitiveness that we saw from Michael Jordan?
Well, the answer not long ago was obviously Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe's tragically not around. So for me, the answer is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, like Michael Jordan, was unheralded early on. Butler goes from like an unheralded draft pick to a rotation piece, or to a guy with a spot on the roster, to a rotation piece, to really a valuable one as a defensive stopper, to a guy who can not only be a defensive stopper, but a 20-point-a-game scorer, to an all-star, to a franchise nucleus player who can be the best player on a playoff powerhouse. That's all Butler's competitiveness. The way Jordan, his competitiveness took him from a guy who got cut from his high school team to a championship player in college, to still not the #1 overall pick, but after the Olympics probably should have been, guy, to an all-star, et cetera, et cetera. He was never satisfied. So Butler's intensity, taking him the distance traveled, is most reminiscent in the game right now, to me, of Michael Jordan.
Well, I disagree with that answer on a multitude of levels. But before I say that to give you my selection, I want to take a moment to give props, as we're talking about The Last Dance, to David Falk. He represented Michael Jordan throughout his career. David Falk is one of the great agents this game has ever seen. And not only that, John Thompson had him. Alonzo Mourning had him. Patrick Ewing had him. Dikembe Mutombo had him. That tells you something about who David Falk was and still is as an agent. So I just want to give him props, because it's good to see him, because he knows Michael Jordan better than most. So let's give respect where respect is due. As it pertains to to Michael Jordan, I think the operative word here, Molly and Max, is competitiveness. Understand that Jimmy Butler deserves our respects and our props, but there's levels to this. And when you look at how volatile Russell Westbrook is, how competitive he is, there's just no question in my mind it's him. When you think about Russell Westbrook, who, by the way, was averaging 27, 8, and 7 this season, okay, who, by the way, is fresh off of averaging a triple-double in back-to-back years, the 2 previous seasons before this year, before he arrived in Houston. When you look at his competitive fervor, night in, night out, what he brings to the table in terms of his athleticism and his willingness to attack you. When you think about Jordan and what we're learning from this documentary, it's not an accident that Russell Westbrook has represented the Jordan brand for years, because he epitomized and personifies everything that MJ has revealed he believes in. When Kevin Durant left and Russell Westbrook decided to stay in Oklahoma City, Jordan was one of the first people to initially speak out in support of his guy who represents his brand, because he was proud of Russell Westbrook's willingness to stay in Oklahoma City as opposed to leave to go somewhere else. Because the old school guys think along those lines. They didn't hop from one team to another, from city to city, state to state, and things of that nature, trying to join friends. Their friends were the guys whose heads they were trying to cut off in order to defeat them. Russell Westbrook, who epitomizes that mentality better. This is Russell Westbrook that was on the record just this year explaining to people, when we don't wear the same uniform, I'm cool with you off the court, but on the court, if you ain't wearing my uniform, you ain't my friend. We don't get along. I don't like you for those 48 minutes or more. You are the enemy. That is how Michael Jordan treated opponents. I don't know of anyone in today's game that epitomizes and personifies Michael Jordan's competitiveness better than Russell Westbrook. No.
Well, what do I always say about Westbrook? Westbrook is, if Kobe and AI had a baby, it would be Russell Westbrook, and I think Russell Westbrook's a good call. He's the first name that crossed my mind. Jimmy Butler plays the same position. Jimmy Butler came from farther out. You know, no one was thinking about Jimmy Butler this way. No one saw this potential in Jimmy Butler. Now, he's not as talented as Michael Jordan, but even in terms of his shooting, he has certain years where he shoots it well enough. other years where he doesn't, but it's still the distance traveled. Butler came out of nowhere and worked and worked and worked because of that competitive drive and turned himself into something more than he ought to have been, more than anyone imagined for him. Westbrook, no question, Westbrook we always knew was an all-world talent. How far it would take him in the NBA, his size and everything remained to be seen. But the talent was obvious.
Hey, Max.
MJ got cut from his high school team, Stephen A.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question, Max Kellerman. How long did it take you to know that Michael Jordan was an all-world talent?
To the extent that we saw it, his rookie season, I guess, right away, it was obvious that he was just different.
His rookie year. That's the answer that I was looking for. When he arrived in the league, remember in the documentary, they said game 3 of his third game of his NBA career when he went against Milwaukee, we saw, well, damn, this is a little bit different. That's what we saw from Russell Westbrook. There's no question. And by the way, like I said, it's sad when you talk about underachieving because Russell hasn't gotten out of the first round. I want to remind everybody, he's never, ever cheated any of us. This brother brings it every single night. I'm talking about Russell Westbrook.
That's my favorite. But look, Stephen A., yes, if you want to factor talent into it, Westbrook is a better choice than Jimmy Butler. We're isolating the competitiveness. Which athlete exhibits MJ's competitiveness the most? And I'm not going to say Butler is more competitive than Westbrook. No. But what I am going to say is that Butler's competitiveness reminds me of MJ's the most in that he's traveled a greater distance, it seems, than anybody else.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.